Well, I must start with a thought that came to mind when I was listening to my colleagues' previous presentation. I can use, and I'm fluent in Italian. I can really go anywhere with my Italian, but I never have learned Italian. I got my Italian from the TV. As Michelle would know, we had free subscription to Italian television, and that's where all my Italian came from. Is this happening with AI? Are the students using AI to learn? Are they using what's being offered to them by AI rather than by the teacher? Okay, these are questions that we should think about. Okay, so as Michelle said, I come from the University of Malta. I have a background in lifelong learning, adult education, teachers education, and lately AI and language learning. Language education, teaching and learning. It had to be a natural move because the amount of papers and scientific work that's being published in the field is enormous. And it's very difficult to keep up with. So for this presentation, I focused on a scoping literature review, okay, in which I chose a number of papers, papers that could be used or could or had offered opportunities for discussion. So my position is informed by the reviewed research, which I will be presenting. And please, we must not see generative AI as either a savior or a threat. Either a savior or a threat. Gen AI can be used to help the educational process, but it should never become the educational process. Okay? We must, as educators, and, well, essays, etc., offers adaptive learning, feedback, and accessibility. It, however, poses both integrity and bias challenges. Some authors are calling this moment the calculator moment, because much as the calculator shifted the focus from computation to problem-solving skills, AI or generative AI is shifting the focus from mechanical production to critical thinking and communication, much as you said in your presentation. And this demands new learning frameworks. As you said, it demands a new teaching and learning paradigm, okay? Where students are not treated, may I use the words of Paulo Freire, the Brazilian Paulo Freire, as empty receptacles, ready to be treated, ready to be filled with knowledge. Empty receptacles, ready to be filled with knowledge. As we all know, ChatGPT um, eh, has been with us for only 2 years. But the amount of papers and studies done in these 2 years is unprecedented. And so is the technical innovations coming from the AI field. So what was the methodology I used for this presentation? I mapped emerging scholarship on GenAI in second language and foreign language education. I chose 46 peer-reviewed papers using the Prixma standard. Then I identified the key themes, opportunities, and the challenges. This provided a comprehensive map of emerging research key themes and gaps. The second phase applied a critical interpretative synthesis, moving beyond description to critique by identifying tensions such as opportunities versus risk and constructing a theoretical framework centered on human agency. The goal was not to was not only to review what exists, but to build a conceptual foundation for ethically sound, pedagogically grounded integration of GenAI into our curriculum, into our teaching and learning process. May I stress that AI is not the panacea for all educational ills, okay? It's not there to solve our problems. It may help students. It may help students, yet proof that this is happening is quite scarce. Okay? It's just 2 years that it's been with us. So it's outrageous at times reading papers where they say how generative AI has changed and improved the learning process. Yes, it may have improved motivation. It may have improved the students' participation online after school hours. But there is no proof. There is not real proof that this is happening. Solidly. That this is a robust phenomenon. Robust phenomenon. So, if we have to look back to the time that AI was never mentioned, okay, AI existed in certain tools. For example, you all know Duolingo, okay? Duolingo is an AI-enhanced machine which has existed since the early 90s. So, or earlier. So AI existed. It had no real use in the classroom. AI existed in GDP. Oh, so in what's it called? In the car, in the
GPS.
GPS machines. Okay, but it had no use in the class. So we are now dealing with the use of AI through Gen AI, to generative AI in the classroom. What are its capabilities? Natural language generation, translation and error correction, contextual adaptation, and personalized feedback. I find that to be the most important, that a student can learn through a personalized feedback system. More importantly, unlike traditional AI, Gen AI, through chatbots like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft's Copilot, DeepSeek, Grok, and others, okay? Claude AI, for example. Gen AI creates outputs resembling human work. And the more precise your prompts are, the more precise the chatbot is. And that's one skill we need to learn. And it comes from a lot of practice, because even the prompts must be tailor-made to our own needs. Just go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to create the fighting scene of two knights of the Order of Malta in medieval Malta, and see what you get. Okay, you get knights dressed in incredible stuff which did not exist in the Middle Ages, and streets with light bulbs. Okay, so and you must be very careful how to use Gen AI, how to use generative AI. So, what are the main capabilities and opportunities? Personalization is very important. Accessibility and inclusion. 24-hour learning assistant. The thing I hate most from my students is that they send an email at 1 in the morning and want an answer by 7 in the morning because the ethical research committee did not approve their application, for example. What shall I do? Okay, I received another one during my presentation. So we have this 27 access to chatbots. Which should we use? One of my concerns, following on what he said, is the free stance of many of the chatbots. Today, many are free, but Google Gemini, the full version, needs subscription. So does Copilot, only to a certain extent. ChatGPT, sorry, is still free, and DeepSeek. But many of the others you need to pay. And we all know teachers' pay is not the strongest part of their job. So we have to improvise. The challenges, the disadvantages of ChatGPT, which emerged from this scoping literature review, concern academic integrity, bias and misinformation, over dependence. At times, even as I said in my previous presentation, I go to ChatGPT just to correct an email to make it sound more formal or more human. Okay? And that kills the soul of my writing. So overdependence can be a very important disadvantage. Many students are relying on AI without telling us. But you will see that in their production, in their work. Privacy and data security, this is a growing concern. Indeed, the European Union has issued and is issuing new guidelines on how to use AI. And this is one of the main issues that it addresses. Okay, so we have a whole legal apparatus now in Malta to check for data security and privacy. Cultural and linguistic bias and metacognitive skills. There was even one paper issued by MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which says that ChatGPT is killing our cognitive potential. Yet it has not been yet peer reviewed. So be very careful. Okay, but all big American newspapers grabbed this study and made it their own. But it's not sufficiently proven that AI can harm intelligence, can harm our critical thinking skills. I find that it improves our critical thinking skills and our students' thinking critical skills. So the core principle that emerged from these studies and which I strongly believe in, by the way, I am a grounded theorist, so this makes a lot of sense to me. AI should augment, not replace human educators. We will not lose our job. Okay, we are indispensable in the teaching and learning process. AI can help us, but it can never replace us. Yet we have to think about the ethical parameters, the ethical principles involved. We need to prepare the staff and the students, as you also said, in literacy about generative AI. And definitely, I've been harping for these past 20 years. We need to change assessment. We need to change assessment. At the University of Malta, an incredible thing happened. When COVID hit, lecturers didn't want to touch papers, students' papers. So they started creating quizzes, creating Duolingo style assessment processes, etc. Now that AI has emerged, and it's still emerging at a very fast rate, they want the paper assessment back. They want the essays back. Because when they argue that when the students sit for an examination, they're not using GPT. Okay, and so we should work for social constructivism, again, as you said, okay, through the work of Dewey, Vygotsky, Piaget, Seymour Papert, which I introduced in the previous lecture, session, and Paulo Freire. Okay, we need to instill social constructivism within our students, perhaps through AI, but AI that creates collaborative work, AI that creates social interaction, online presence, etc. One very important area in language teaching is task-based language teaching. Give them something to do. Give them something to do as a group. They will fight over issues, and that's where real learning emerges. We're doing things well in Malta. We have the president of the European Union who's Maltese. So she passed through our system. And we need to install this fighting democratic principle in our students through AI. There are many limitations in the current research. One of the biggest I see is that it focuses mainly on English as a foreign language. That's where the real work is being done. Okay? And it is ignoring smaller languages, dialects, and other languages. Much of the papers are being written with context like in the higher education field, okay? Writing skills mainly are emphasized. I ask my students, for example, to create videos, group videos, in which they talk rather than write, which is a very important language skill. There's limited attention to speaking, listening, and reading, and there are also gaps. The relationship between learner and variables are poorly understood. There is limited longitudinal studies. Again, longitudinal studies over 2 years do not really occur, are not really efficient, and there is insufficient cross-cultural research and few studies in primary and secondary education. So priority research areas should include more learning outcomes, other languages, and longer-term effects. So we need to think about how to integrate AI into the classroom. He came up with great suggestions, okay? We need professional development of teachers and trainers. We need to improve the curriculum, okay, giving bigger emphasis to assessment tasks that are socially interactive. So the path forward, ethical integration, literacy development, and evidence-based practice, which is still lacking. Okay, it's up to you now.
Thank you very much.